Ever get the feeling that someone's just kind of camping out in your head and they just won't leave? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, like they've moved in, set up shop, rent-free.
Exactly. And you guys have sent in some really interesting stuff about why this happens. So today we're going deep on this whole persistent thinking thing, not as some weird brain glitch, but as like a secret code to understanding ourselves better.
Yeah, like a hidden message. The stuff you sent in basically says these thoughts that keep popping up, they're not just random. They might actually be telling us something really important. And the crazy part is, the reason you're thinking about someone so much might have more to do with you than with them.
Okay, so this deep dive is going to get pretty deep, huh?
Definitely.
Well, let's start with Carl Jung. He was like the master of this kind of stuff. And a material we got points out how he believed that when someone gets stuck in your head, it's not just by chance. It's like your unconscious is trying to get your attention, wave a flag, something.
Right. Like a little tap on the shoulder from deep inside. Jung saw our minds as having this whole hidden dimension, like an iceberg, you know. The tip, the part we see, that's our conscious mind, all the thoughts and memories we're aware of. But underneath, there's this massive part, the unconscious. And that's where all those unprocessed emotions, forgotten experiences, those parts of ourselves we maybe don't even want to look at, that's where they hang out. And according to Jung, that's where these persistent thoughts come from.
So it's like they're bubbling up from the depths.
Exactly.
So if someone keeps popping into your head, it might be because they've hit a nerve somewhere down there in that unconscious part of you.
Yeah, like maybe something they said triggered an old feeling, or maybe they represent something you secretly long for, you know? Like a desire you haven't really acknowledged.
Okay, that's starting to make sense. Now, one of Jung's ideas that came up a lot in the material is this thing called the shadow. And it sounds kind of mysterious.
It is. It's like all those parts of yourself that you try to hide. You know, the parts that don't fit with how you see yourself, the parts that make you feel uncomfortable. Like, maybe you think of yourself as a really generous person, but deep down, you have moments of envy or jealousy. That envy, that's part of your shadow.
Ah, okay, so the shadow is like all our bad stuff.
Not necessarily bad, but definitely the stuff we don't want to admit to, even to ourselves.
Okay, I get it. So how do these people, we can't stop thinking about, how do they fit in with this shadow thing?
Well, the sources suggest that sometimes these people who are constantly in our heads, they might be like walking, talking representations of our own shadow. Like, let's say you're totally fixated on someone who's super confident, like they just ooze charisma. It's possible that what's really going on is that fascination is actually reflecting your own insecurities. You know, the lack of confidence that you might be hiding from yourself.
It's like they're holding up a mirror.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about confidence. You know, the material also talks about how being drawn to someone's creativity might actually point to a neglected artistic side in yourself, or even feeling super annoyed by someone's arrogance. That might actually be a reflection of your own unacknowledged arrogance.
So it's not even always about positive stuff.
Right. It can be about anything that we push away. And what's really interesting is that the material emphasizes how our relationships with other people often mirror the relationship we have with ourselves.
Yo, okay, that's deep. So someone who's constantly on your mind, they might be showing you a part of yourself that you're not fully in touch with.
Right, like a hidden part that needs attention. It's like your unconscious is saying, hey, look at this. This part of you exists too.
That's kind of a big shift in perspective. So instead of asking, why am I so obsessed with this person? Maybe the real question is, what part of myself are they reflecting back to me?
I think so. The material even quotes Jung here saying, we don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious.
Wow, I like that. It's like facing our shadows, even the parts that make us uncomfortable.
Exactly. Real self-awareness comes from embracing all of who we are, not just the shiny, happy parts.
I'm with you on that. Now, the material also dives into these things called anima and animus, and honestly, they sound a little bit confusing.
Yeah, they're a bit abstract. But basically, Jung said that inside all of us, no matter our gender, we have both feminine and masculine energy in our unconscious. The feminine energy in a man's unconscious, he called that the anima. And the masculine energy in a woman's unconscious, that's the animus. But it's not about like traditional gender roles, okay? It's more about different qualities we all have.
So like anima qualities are things like being sensitive, intuitive, nurturing.
Exactly. And animus qualities might be things like assertiveness, logic, taking charge. We all have both, just in different amounts.
Okay, that helps. So how do these anima and animus things relate to someone being stuck in our thoughts?
Well, the material says that sometimes the person we can't stop thinking about might be resonating with our anima or animus. Like, They might embody qualities that we unconsciously associate with an ideal partner. Or maybe they awaken parts of our personality that we haven't fully developed yet.
So, like, if someone's really drawn to someone who's super emotionally expressive, that could be their anima talking.
It could be. Maybe they crave that emotional depth in themselves,
Mm.
Or maybe they're drawn to someone who's really driven and ambitious.
Yeah.
And that speaks to their animus.
Ah, that makes sense. But the material also warns about idealizing people, especially when it comes to anima and animus. Why is that?
Because these archetypes, they work in the unconscious, right? So it's like we're projecting this idealized image onto someone. We're not really seeing them for who they are. We're seeing what we want to see based on our own inner needs and desires.
So it's like we're falling in love with the idea of them, not the actual person.
Yeah, kind of. And that can lead to disappointment when the reality doesn't match up to our fantasy.
Right, because nobody's perfect. So again, it comes back to looking inward. Instead of just obsessing over the other person, we should ask ourselves, what part of me is being activated by this connection?
Exactly. It's all about self-discovery.
Okay, let's talk about projection. It seems pretty connected to the shadow and animus stuff we've been talking about.
It is. Projection is basically when we unconsciously take our own thoughts, feelings, even our own flaws, and we put them onto someone else.
So like blaming someone else for something that's actually our fault.
Kind of. The material uses this great analogy. It's like our mind is a movie theater, and we're projecting our own internal script onto someone else, making them the star of a movie that's really all about us.
Wow, that's a good one. Can you give me another example?
Sure. Let's say you know someone who's always criticizing other people's appearance. Like, they're super focused on everyone else's flaws. It's possible that this intense judgment is actually a projection of their own insecurities about their looks, They're so busy pointing fingers that they don't have to face their own stuff.
Okay, I can see that. So even our negative judgments can teach us something about ourselves.
Absolutely. The material says that these projections, they feel very real to the person experiencing them. Like they're convinced that the other person is the problem, when it's actually their own stuff they need to deal with.
So it's like we're seeing things through a distorted lens.
Yeah, exactly. But Jung believed that recognizing these projections is huge for self-awareness. Like when someone's really getting under your skin, whether you admire them or find them annoying, it's a sign to stop and ask yourself, what am I really seeing here? And what does that tell me about myself?
The material has another one of those Jung quotes here, and it's so good. He said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves."
So true. It's like our emotional reactions to others, they're like little clues.
Leading us back to ourselves.
Exactly. And when we start to recognize our projections, we take back those disowned parts of ourselves.
And we stop giving other people so much power over us, right?
Exactly. It's about taking responsibility for our own inner world.
I love that. Now, the material also talks about this really cool concept called synchronicity. And it seems a bit more out there, a bit more mystical.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more mysterious concepts. Synchronicity, as Jung explained it, is basically when meaningful coincidences happen. Events that seem connected but don't have any obvious cause and effect. Like you're thinking about an old friend you haven't seen in years, and then suddenly you bump into them at the grocery store.
Whoa, I've totally had that happen.
Right. And it can happen with someone you're constantly thinking about too. Like you think of them and then you get a text from them out of the blue, or you hear their name mentioned in a conversation. Jung believed that these weren't just random accidents. He thought they pointed to a deeper connection between our inner thoughts and the outside world.
So if you're always thinking about someone, and then these weird coincidences keep happening, that could be synchronicity at work.
It could be. The material suggests that maybe when you're so focused on someone unconsciously, you become more aware of them in your surroundings, like you're primed to notice them, even if it seems random. Or, even more interestingly, it might suggest that there's a link between your mental state and what's happening around you, a link that we don't fully understand yet.
That's kind of mind-blowing. So it's not just about ignoring these coincidences, it's about paying attention to them.
Right. The material says that synchronicity is like an invitation to reflect. Like it's asking us to think about the meaning behind these seemingly random events.
Okay, so what kind of questions should we be asking ourselves if we experience synchronicity?
Well, the sources suggest asking things like, does seeing this person again, does it bring up any unresolved feelings for me? Do they symbolize something I've been avoiding, like a path I haven't taken? Could this be a reminder of my own ability to find meaning and make connections in the world? It's about being open to the possibility that there's something deeper going on.
And there's another great Jung quote here. Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. So it's like, if we're paying attention, we'll start to notice these things happening all the time.
Exactly. It's about being open to a different way of seeing the world, one that's not just about logic and cause and effect.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of Jungian theory. Now let's get practical. What can our listeners do to actually figure out what these hidden messages mean when someone's constantly on their mind?
The material outlines a really helpful 3-step process for self-discovery. The first step is introspection. It's all about paying close attention to how you feel when you think about this person. Are you inspired, annoyed, excited, sad?
Yeah.
The more specific you can be about those feelings, the better.
So it's not just I feel weird, it's more like I feel envious of their freedom, or I feel a pang of longing when I think about their happiness.
Yes. It's about really tuning into those nuances.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what's the next step?
The second step is deeper analysis. Once you know how you feel, you need to figure out what those feelings mean for you. The material suggests asking yourself questions like, does my fascination with their confidence mean that I want to be more confident myself? Or does their sadness remind me of a time when I felt abandoned or rejected? Journaling can be really helpful for this step, for uncovering those unconscious patterns.
It's like connecting the dots between the external trigger, the person you're thinking about, and your own internal world.
Exactly. And the final step is to transform those insights into action. It's not enough to just think about these things. You got to do something about them. Like if you realize you're fixated on someone's assertiveness because you struggle to express your own needs, then maybe the next step is to start practicing being more assertive in small ways.
So the focus is on changing ourselves, not trying to change the other person.
Right. And the material brings back that Jung quote here. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate.
That's powerful. It's like we have the power to change our destiny.
We do. And the sources emphasize that we should see these persistent thoughts not as a problem, but as a gift. Like they're an invitation to explore those hidden parts of ourselves.
Like a treasure map leading to self-discovery.
I love that.
So to sum it all up, when someone keeps popping into our heads, it's not just random, it's usually a reflection of something important going on inside of us.
Exactly. These recurring characters in our minds, they often point to things that need our attention, things that are ready to be healed or understood. It's an opportunity for growth, not a trap.
This has been such an amazing deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much.
Thank you.
We hope this has given you guys some new ways to think about those persistent thoughts.
We encourage you to take some time to reflect on what really stood out to you during this conversation. Like what resonated most deeply, what feelings came up.
And on that note, think about one small action you can take today to nurture yourself, to honor who you are. Even a tiny step can make a big difference.
And don't underestimate the power of sharing your insights with others. Maybe someone in your life is going through something similar, and your perspective could really help them.
Finally, remember that idea of synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences? Well, they often seem to increase when we're on the right path, when we're becoming the people we're meant to be.
It's like the universe is conspiring to help us along.
Exactly. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We'll see you next time.
See you then.